We bought it, we paid for it, and General Torrijos should be told we're going to keep it.
40% of all US container traffic funnels through this tiny 50-mile stretch of water. To most people, it's a miracle of engineering. But to the White House in early 2025, it was a strategic choke point held by the wrong hands.
Canal, and we didn't give it to China, we gave it to Panama, and we're taking it back.
Within weeks, headlines began warning that the Panama Canal had entered dangerous territory, while speculations swirled about how far Washington might go. The real story was moving in a very different direction. By the time the dust settled, not a single shot had been fired, yet the real battle over the canal was only just beginning. So was this a policy failure that risked military escalation? Or was the shadow of conflict the leverage needed to pursue what could become the biggest business deal of the century? For Trump, the problem with the Panama Canal was never Panama. It was the feeling that something essential was no longer under American control. And that feeling begins in two very specific places on the map. There are two critical ports, Balboa on the Pacific side and Cristobal on the Atlantic. Every ship passing through the canal has to stop at one of them first. For the last 28 years, both have been run by the Panama Ports Company, a subsidiary of C.K. Hutchison, a massive Hong Kong conglomerate founded by Li Ka-shing. On the surface, this company looks Western, headquartered in England, British managers, Australian executives, and a workforce that is 100% Panamanian. However, if you follow the money, the picture changes completely. The ultimate owner is still in Hong Kong, and Washington saw the Chinese capital underneath as a leverage point they could no longer tolerate.
The Chinese basically have effective control of the canal anytime they want, because if they order a Chinese company that controls the ports to shut it down or impede our transit, they will have to do so. This is not a joke. The Panama Canal issue is a very serious one.
The Panama Canal was not a campaign issue in 2024. Trump first complained about passage rates charged to the Navy and US shipping companies. Then he posted that if the situation does not improve, we will demand that the Panama Canal be returned to us in full and without question. To the officials of Panama, please be guided accordingly. He repeated those criticisms and threats in a speech the following day.
The Panama Canal. Has anyone ever heard of the Panama Canal? Huh? Because we're being ripped off at the Panama Canal like we're being ripped off everywhere else.
And when a former US president publicly questions control over a strategic choke point, it's no longer just rhetoric. The reaction from Panama was immediate. Just hours after Trump's speech, President Mulino fired back on X. Every square meter of the Panama Canal and its adjacent area belong to Panama and will continue to be. The sovereignty and independence of our country are not negotiable, and he adds that tolls are set by market conditions and the canal's own operating needs. Control remains neutral and independent, with no special influence from China or any other country. But Trump doesn't back down. He responds in an even more defiant tone. He posted, "We'll see about that." He then posts an AI-generated image reading, "Welcome to the United States Canal," which sparks protests across Panama. Crowds burn US flags and images of Trump's face, screaming, "Get out, invading gringo," and "Trump animal, leave the canal alone." On top of that, Trump adds that Miami-Dade County Commissioner Kevin Marino Cabrera will serve as the next US ambassador to Panama, calling it a country that is ripping us off on the Panama Canal, far beyond their wildest dreams. Statement that forces President Mulino to hold a press conference to make it crystal clear to Trump that the canal is not for sale. Trump turns a deaf ear to all of it. He insists the canal is operated by China, and that has to change, no matter what.
And above all, China is operating the Panama Canal.
After the inaugural speech, where he reiterated what he's been saying since his first tweet, Trump decides to take a different approach this time. He sends Secretary of State Marco Rubio on his first official trip to make the US position on the Panama Canal clear to President Molino in person. No more Chinese presence in the canal. Molino, after so much media pressure, Marco Rubio visit, and everything the canal represents economically for his country, finally picks a side. He leans toward the US. First, he orders an audit of the Panama Ports Company. Then, days later, he provokes a sharp backlash from Beijing.
El memorándum de entendimiento del año 2017 sobre la ruta de la seda, the Belt and Road Initiative, no será renovado por mi gobierno.
The Belt and Road Initiative is China's blueprint for global power. Since 2013, Beijing has poured hundreds of billions into ports, railways, and highways across the developing world. The offer sounds generous. China builds your infrastructure, you pay it back over time. But when countries can't pay, Beijing collects in influence, in assets, in leverage. Panama signed on in 2017, the first Latin American country to join. Beijing's response is instant and venomous. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Lin Jian doesn't mince words.
通过施压胁迫的手段，抹黑破坏共建“一带一路”合作的行径，表示坚决反对。对巴方表示不再续签谅解备忘录，深表遗憾。近年，中巴两国在共建“一带一路”框架下的合作取得丰硕成果，不断造福两国人民。希望巴方从双边关系的大局和两国人民的长远利益出发，排除外来干扰，做出正确决定。
But this was just the beginning of China's disappointment. Because while Molino was making concessions and Beijing complaining, someone else picks up the phone. Larry Fink, CEO of BlackRock, the largest asset manager on Earth, $11.6 trillion under management, more than the GDP of every country except the US and China. His pitch is simple. BlackRock will buy the ports, Balboa and Cristobal, both of them.
Getting some breaking news on BlackRock today. For that, we'll turn to Leslie Picker. Hey, Leslie.
Hey, Carl. Yeah, this is some fascinating news crossing just moments ago that BlackRock is agreeing to purchase Panama Canal ports and over 40 additional ports. This is from C.K. Hutchinson.
That same night, Trump takes a victory lap in front of Congress.
Just today, a large American company announced they are buying both ports around the Panama Canal. We didn't give it to China. We gave it to Panama, and we're taking it back.
His remarks land badly in Panama. President Molino feels his country's dignity is being crushed. He responds the only way he can, another post on X. I reject, on behalf of Panama and all Panamanians, this affront to the truth and to our dignity as a nation. While Molino defends his country's honor and tries to set the record straight on Trump's claims, the Chinese press goes after Li Ka-shing. The headlines are brutal. They accused him of spineless groveling, profit-seeking, disregarding national interests and national justice, betraying and selling out all Chinese people. The disappointment ran deep. In Beijing, the announcement that Chinese tycoon C.K. Hutchinson would sell strategic assets to BlackRock was seen as a humiliation, an unacceptable loss of control. China was not willing to accept that image, and it had no intention of letting the deal pass so easily. On March 28th, China's State Administration for Market Regulation launched an immediate antitrust probe, freezing the paperwork and threatening the company with legal action if they tried to close the deal. Behind the scenes, the anger is personal. Hutchison did not consult Chinese officials before announcing the sale, highly unusual for assets sitting at the center of geopolitical tension. According to insiders, China saw the Panama port issue as potential leverage against the US. The BlackRock deal sits frozen, but Washington does not ease off. On April 7, 2025, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth lands in Panama City, first defense secretary to visit in 20 years. Officially, he's there for a regional security conference, but his real mission is clear: keep pushing back against China. Over 3 days, Hegseth meets with President Molino and signs 2 agreements, one on security cooperation, the other on canal access, giving US warships first and free passage through the Panama Canal ahead of all other traffic. The deal goes even further, unlocking 3 facilities to American forces, the same bases the US controlled before 1999. Panamanians simply can't believe their eyes. It feels like someone just hit the rewind button on the last 20 years. Standing at a US-financed pier, Hegseth delivers his message directly to Beijing.
I want to be very clear. China did not build this canal. China does not operate this canal. And China will not weaponize this canal.
But Panamanians don't give a damn what the Secretary of Defense is saying. At the same time as Molino shakes hands with Hegseth, Panamanians flood the streets. They protest against the military deal, the US bases coming back, and Molino himself, the man they call a vender patria, a sellout. For Panamanians, this is about sovereignty and a government that answers to Trump before it answers to its own people. The protests go on for 3 weeks. By mid-2025, everything is stuck. The ports are still run by C.K. Hutchison. The BlackRock deal is still in limbo. China is investigating. Panama is auditing. US troops are rotating through old American bases. And Molino is caught between 2 superpowers. Beijing doubles down. Chinese officials signal that COSCO must be included, warning that excluding it could trigger regulatory pushback in China, putting the entire sale at risk. COSCO, China's state-owned shipping giant, demands more than just a seat at the table. They want majority control, veto rights over how the ports are run. BlackRock considers walking away if COSCO insists on a majority stake. What started as a billionaire cashing out has turned into a standoff between Washington and Beijing. Meanwhile, Panama's audit uncovers accounting irregularities. Authorities say C.K. Hutchison failed to pay more than $1.2 billion owed under the concession. On the 30th of July 2025, the comptroller files lawsuits seeking to void the contract. If the courts cancel Hutchison's concession, Panama takes back its ports. And the Canal Authority isn't waiting. It announces 2 new terminals, one on each side of the canal. A $2.6 billion project. Dozens of global operators invited to engage. COSCO wants in, but the process is designed to keep control in Panama's hands. This fight is far from over.